So post-infidelity stress disorder, and the first I heard of this was an article I read by Ortman, 2005, so I want to give credit there. And this is for somebody who has been betrayed, and that can happen in numerous settings, and frankly it can happen, who has not been betrayed. So this was something that I haven't seen a lot written about in the counseling literature. You see a lot about infidelity and couples working together, but how do we work with the person who's been betrayed? And I'm going to do a series on this, but just this will be about the symptoms that are experienced. I do want to This is important for counselors because we all have countertransference around this issue. Probably everybody has been heartbroken or dumped or has experienced infidelity or betrayal in some form. So when clients talk about this, it can bring up a whole host of issues, and we need to make sure we're not getting in the way of the client's process. So there'll be a series, and we're going to start with symptoms, but I do want you to know as a counselor, when somebody comes in who has been betrayed, that they may have discovered something and it may not have been admitted. Be aware that intuition related to a partner cheating is pretty accurate. Now, by pretty, I've seen estimates of 55% or so accurate. In the legal world, I've heard that it's almost, if you suspect it's happened, it most likely has. So anyway, we don't have references for that, but just be aware that intuition is accurate. So if somebody comes in, yes, we don't need to kind of jump into believing and playing into that. We need to process with the client. But there's likelihood that something's going on here. Also, the betrayer, I've seen estimates as high as 80% lie when approached about it, that they will not admit to it, no matter how much pain is being caused. And I may link you to an article that talks about somebody who had lied about it for years to where the husband was really having health problems and then finally admitted. And that was after telling the counselor, and the counselor was convinced that she had not done it. So we really need to be aware that intuition can be accurate and that betrayers lie. That's a common thing. Now, symptoms that people with post-infidelity stress disorder, first of all, this is trauma, and it's insidious trauma because you're often still living with the person or in close proximity and seeing them and being reminded of this over and over. You may even still be sleeping in the same bed. So this can be an insidious, persistent trauma that somebody experiences. So one of the first issues is sleep. Night times are the worst for this. Folks wake up in the middle of the night with thoughts of their partner having sex or being with somebody else. Which then leads to memory problems, which then leads to the inability to focus, which you can see how all this is tied into not being able to do well in school or work. The intrusive images that you just can't let go of. That people will talk about intrusive images almost as if a movie reel is going off. It's not as much thought as if there's literally a video of your partner having sex with somebody else. And the ruminating thoughts of, why didn't I pick this up sooner? How did I discount that? And by the way, in early discovery of an affair, it is common to put it off and to not give it much credence at first. To say, oh, that couldn't have happened, that must have been this, or I must be going crazy. Terrible term, and sometimes I've heard betrayers call the partner crazy. Just terrible term. We should stop using that. But if you hear the term crazy from a couple, that would put my alert up. That seems to be kind of a term people use to try to get people sidetracked. Clearly, anxiety and depression is an issue. Profound loss from the loss of the relationship. And a huge thing is, if you think about our early psychosocial development, the first psychosocial hurdle that we try to accomplish is building trust. And that has just been abolished, at discovery in a single instant. And there are people that can never build that trust again. Now, with counseling and help, I think people can get there. This is very common, but it's also very hurtful, and I don't think we've given it the time we need, particularly for the betrayed. You see a lot on couples counseling, but not for the person who's been betrayed. The humiliation of knowing that, maybe considering that you weren't enough, or that somebody ventured out because you were inadequate or what have you. Health problems can result. There are some heart issues that can happen that if the stress is taken care of, it doesn't tend to be serious, but with prolonged stress, it could be. Health compromising behaviors such as drinking a lot after discovery, using drugs, involving yourself in other sex to kind of get back at the person can all lead to some health problems as well. And the social anxiety with this one is related to not knowing who knows. And so going to the supermarket or the mall or a restaurant and wondering if people out there know, or did they know of that your partner was having an affair or engaged in such acts. So these are just some of the symptoms, and we'll talk more about this. Just be aware that this is a serious issue. This can lead to suicide. It can lead to homicide. There have been cases of this, so counselors need to be very aware because the countertransference is really severe. We need a lot of supervision when working with somebody who's been betrayed and is experiencing post-infidelity stress disorder.